In the heart of Ayr village, where red earth met the whispering palms, there lived a man called Ajani, a farmer whose hands had tilled the land since boyhood. The rains had forgotten the land. The yam mounds had cracked open like wounds. Children's laughter had turned to coughs. And the gods were silent. He was strong, honest, and kind, but the seasons had turned against him. Elegimer, have you forgotten us? Did we not honor Ogun in the festival? Did we not pour palm oil upon his shrine? Ajani said. His neighbors had begun to murmur. They said perhaps the gods were angry. Perhaps someone had sinned. But no one could say who. One market day, Ajani carried the last of his cocoa yams to trade for grain. But when he reached the market, the women laughed. "Ah, Ajani, your yams are smaller than my baby's arm. Who will buy hunger from a hungry man?" said a market woman. Ajani smiled weakly, though pain sat in his chest like a stone. He turned away, his pride in tatters. As the sun sank and the wind grew cool, Ajani heard two old men talking by the tree. They spoke of a sacred drum, one kept in the shrine of Ogun, the god of iron and labor. They said whoever beat that drum with a heart pure and clean would find fortune beyond measure. "But beware," one of them said, "for the drum listens to the soul of the man who touches it. If your heart is stained, it will not sing, it will curse." Ajani's eyes glistened in the twilight. He thought of his children's hunger, his wife's tears, his barren land. If I could just touch that drum, perhaps Ogun will remember me. Ajani said, whispering. That night, he told Ajani of what he heard. Her eyes widened in fear. "Ajani, do not speak foolishly. That drum belongs to Ogun himself. It is not meant for mortal hands," said Ajani. "But are we not also children of Ogun? Have I not worked the earth all my life? If I am pure of heart, the drum will bless me." Ajani replied, "Ogun ma jeo, may the god forbid it. Ajani, promise me you will not go near that shrine." Ajani said softly, "When man's hunger grows louder than his fear, even the gods must listen." Ajani could not sleep. Each gust of wind seemed to whisper his name, calling him toward the forest. He turned on his mat, sweating though the air was cool. In his dream, he saw a drum glowing red beneath the moon, and a voice saying, "Come, beat the drum if your heart is pure." A spirit voice echoes. Ajani woke with a start, his breath quick. He looked toward the window. The forest shimmered in silver moonlight. Somewhere far off, a single owl hooted, "Cuckoo, cuckoo." And in that moment, he decided. At dawn, Ajani went to his farm and stood before the cracked soil. He clenched his fists and whispered, "Ogun, if you are truly the father of laborers, then forgive my desperation. I will come to you tonight." And so began a journey that would shake the spirits of Ayr village for generations. For when man believes the gods are silent, he often forgets. They are only waiting for him to listen. Evening came softly that day. The sun bled into the horizon like a wounded god, and the world of men prepared for night. But Ajani prepared for something else. He told Ajani he was going to check the traps in the forest, but in his eyes, she saw a glimmer she had never seen before. "Ajani, promise me again, you will not go near the shrine," said Ajani. "I promise, Ajani. Meoni lo saib. I will not go there." Ajani replied, "But words, once spoken by a desperate man, are as light as dry leaves. The wind of hunger can scatter them with ease." When the moon climbed high above the palms, Ajani slipped from his hut. The village dogs barked once, then fell silent, as if they too understood the weight of his steps. The forest of Ogun was sacred. No one entered after sunset. They said the spirits of iron walked there, glowing red in the dark, watching over the shrine. Ajani's heart beat fast. He had walked this path many times by day, but now every rustle felt alive. A gust of wind brushed his ear and carried whispers that sounded like his name. "Ajani! Ajani! The voice whispered softly. He froze. His hand trembled on the handle of his cutlass. But hunger is a cruel master. He pushed forward. Narrator, slow, reverent. At last, he reached it, the shrine of Ogun. An ancient mound of stone stood in the clearing, wrapped in vines and shadow. Palm oil offerings glistened on the altar. Iron tools lay before it, symbols of labor and strength. And there, at the center, sat the drum. It was more beautiful than Ajani imagined. Its skin seemed to breathe with the pulse of the earth. Every breeze made it hum softly, like the sigh of a sleeping giant. Ajani knelt before the altar. He whispered the ancient greeting. Ogun Elona, Ogun Alada Meiji. Great Father of Iron, open the path for your son. He bows 3 times. For a moment, all was still. Then a warm wind swept through the clearing. The flame of a small lamp flickered. Ajani took it as a sign. Ogun accepts me. He sees my suffering, Ajani said to himself. His fingers brushed the drum's surface. It felt warm, too warm. Then, faintly, a heartbeat sounded within it. Thump, thump, thump. Ajani gasped. He looked around, but the forest was silent. The moonlight seemed to dim, and the air grew heavy. Then, from the darkness, a voice whispered, deep and distant. Man of the earth, why do you touch what is not yours? Said a spirit voice. I am only borrowing it. My children are hungry. I seek your blessing. Ajani said, stammering. Blessing is not born of theft, Ajani, remember, replied the spirit voice. Ajani's heart pounded. He waited. But when no more sound came, courage, or folly, filled him again. He lifted the drum. The moment he lifted it, the forest seemed to sigh. Birds scattered from unseen trees, and the wind hissed through the leaves like a warning. But Ajani, blinded by desperation, turned and hurried home through the night. Each step echoed louder than the last. The drum was heavier than it looked. It seemed to breathe against his chest, as though it carried a spirit within. Almost home, almost there, Ajani whispered, panting. At the edge of the forest, he dared to look back. The path he had taken was gone. Only mist and shadow remained. He shivered and muttered under his breath. Ogun Mabinu, may the god not be angry. When he reached home, his wife awoke. Ajani, what is that in your hands? Ajani asked. Nothing, Ajani. Sleep. Tomorrow, we shall see light again. Ajani replied. He sat beside the hidden drum till dawn, listening to the night. The village was quiet, too quiet. Somewhere far off, thunder rolled though no clouds covered the sky. And in that deep silence, Ajani smiled. He thought he had outsmarted hunger. But hunger, he would soon learn, was never his true enemy. The morning after Ajani brought the drum home, the village of Ayr woke to a strange stillness. Birds did not sing. The air felt thick, as though the forest held its breath. Cut to Ajani outside his hut, rubbing his eyes, exhausted. He had not slept. The drum sat hidden under the mat beside his hearth, silent and calm, or so it seemed. Ajani, the air feels different. It is as if someone is watching. Ajani said softly. It is only hunger that watches, Ajani. By sunset, our luck will change. Ajani responded. But even as he spoke, a low hum drifted from inside the hut. Ajani froze. Did you hear that? Ajani asked. Hear what? Ajani responded. The hum stops. Silence. Flies buzz faintly. It was the first whisper of the curse, a warning ignored. That afternoon, Ajani carried the drum to the village square. He thought to sell it to the chief drummer of Ayr. But the moment he reached the market, a sudden gust swept through. Stalls trembled, and the crowd looked up at the sky. A strange cloud, black and low, swirled above the shrine hill. "The gods are restless. Who has disturbed the sacred grove?" said an elder to the crowd. The sound grew, deep, rhythmic, coming from nowhere and everywhere. Boom, boom, boom. Children covered their ears. The goats bleated wildly. And the chief drummer, Bojo, stepped forward, his eyes wide with dread. "That is not man's drumming. Iron himself, the spirit of rhythm, is angry." Bojo exclaimed. Ajani's hands shook. The sack on his shoulder throbbed faintly, keeping time with the unseen rhythm. He dropped it and ran home. That night, sleep refused to visit Ajani's house. The moon rose red and swollen, like an angry eye in the sky. He tried to rest, but just as he began to drift, boom, 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 the sound came from inside the hut. The drum was playing itself. "Ajani, Ajani, Onlu Ilu. It is playing." With a terrified whisper, Ajani said. Ajani sat up, heart racing. The drum stood upright by the fire, glowing faintly. Each beat sent ripples through the air, and with each ripple, shadows on the wall began to move. Figures of smoke and flame rose from the hearth, spirits of the grove. They circled the drum, their voices whispering in a tongue older than man. The gift of the gods, stolen by mortal hands. "Let the thief know the hunger of the spirits," said a spirit voice. Drumming intensifies, thunder outside. "Forgive me. I only wanted to feed my children," Ajani said. But the drum answered, not in mercy, but in wrath. Its voice boomed through the hut. "Hunger of the flesh is brief, but greed of the soul devours all." The fire flares, the drum falls silent. Smoke fills the hut. When morning came, the ground outside Ajani's hut had cracked open. Palm trees leaned as though bent by unseen hands. And every pot of water in the village had turned to mud. The elders gathered quickly. They spoke of taboos broken, of the shrine defiled. "One among us has angered Ogun. The signs are clear," an elder said. Ajani's chest tightened. He could not confess. Fear chained his tongue. That night, the drum began again, louder, faster. The rhythm shook the ground. The whole village heard it, but no one could find the source. Children cried in their mother's arms. Old men prayed, calling on Ogun, Asu, or Runmala, all to no avail. The chief priest, Baba Fadina, declared, "This is no common curse. The drum of Ogun has been taken. Until it is returned, our land shall know no peace." Villagers gasp. Ajani lowers his head, trembling. That was the moment Ajani knew his sin had become the village's suffering. The drum had spoken, and its voice would not be silenced. Each beat through the night carried a message, not to the ears, but to the soul. By dawn, even the stubborn hearts of Ayr understood. A spirit wronged will always find its voice. And when that voice is bound to a drum, it can make the very earth weep. The people of Ayr had not slept for 3 nights. The drum's voice had become their torment. It spoke at midnight, wailed before dawn, and every echo cracked the walls of their peace. The elders summoned the diviner. They placed kola nuts on a mat, whispering ancient incantations. The diviner's eyes rolled white as he spoke. "The one who stole from Ogun's altar walks among us. Until he confesses, no rain shall fall, no child shall laugh, and no hearth shall burn clean." Ajani's throat burned with guilt. His heart, heavy with shame, beat in time with the cursed drum's echo. That night, as thunder gathered over the forest, he could no longer bear the weight of silence. "Ajani, I have brought this upon us. The drum, the cursed drum, it is from Ogun's shrine." Ajani said, kneeling and begging Ajani, "Ori mi o. Ajani, what have you done?" Ajani exclaimed, "I wanted only to feed you, to save our children. But now the whole village suffers for my greed." He stands, determined, clutching a small calabash of palm oil and white cloth. Tonight, I will return it. If Ogun must take me, let him. But I will not let Ire perish. He walked alone into the storm. Each flash of lightning lit his path. Each rumble of thunder echoed his heartbeat. The forest greeted him with silence, as though waiting. At the shrine, the fire still burned, though no hand had tended it in days. Ajani knelt, placing the drum before the altar. Ogun, Iron Lord, forgive me. I took what was yours, not in mockery, but in despair. If a man sins out of hunger, will you not feed him still? He beats his chest 3 times. Ogun Mabinu, Father of labor, accept my repentance. The ground trembled. The drum rose from the earth, floating before him, glowing like molten iron. Then it spoke, calm, powerful, deep as the roots of the mountain. Ajani, son of Ire, you broke the law of the grove, but your heart seeks truth again. Man's hunger may twist his path, but only pride keeps him lost. Said the drum in Ogun's voice. The glow softens, turning golden. Go. Return to your people. Let this drum remind all of Ire that blessings are not taken by theft. They are earned by faith and labor, said the drum in an echoed voice. The drum sinks into the earth, vanishing completely. Then, after many moons of dryness, the sky broke open. Rain fell. Not a storm of rage, but a baptism of mercy. Ajani wept beneath the downpour, whispering, Essay, Ogun Babami. Thank you, my father. By morning, streams danced through the fields again. Children laughed, women sang, and the men lifted their faces to the heavens. But when they sought the drum, it was gone. Only a small mound of earth stood where the shrine had been. The elders declared the curse broken. Ajani confessed before all, his voice steady and full of regret. I wronged the gods and the people of Ire. If Ogun had taken my life, it would have been just. But he has shown mercy, and I will spend my days honoring that mercy with my hands and heart. The gods punish to teach, not to destroy. Rise, Ajani. Let this lesson live in our stories, an elder said. Seasons passed. The famine ended, and the land bore fruit again. Ajani became a humble farmer, never again touching what was not his. And when the children of Ire gathered around the fires at night, the elders would say, Listen well, little ones. There once was a man who stole a sacred drum, and that drum spoke at midnight. Children gasp, laugh, and draw closer to the fire. And though he faced the wrath of gods, it was his honesty that saved him in the end. So ends the tale of Ajani and the drum that spoke at midnight. Remember this, children of the earth. When hunger visits, let not your heart turn to deceit. For even the gods understand need, but they will never forgive greed. Ilu to be a bo ohun erari, koni bo ohun era enikeji. The town that listens to its own heart will never fall to ruin.